from a game. Every day I'm on top of my.
Hey everybody, this is Sean B. Bradley, CEO of Dealer Synergy, and you know what time it is. It is Make Money Mondays. So let's get right into it. This week, we're going to talk about process. Process, and some more process. Now, why is process important? What is the purpose? Well, I've used the analogy before of a recipe. I have a very good friend of mine that's is a chef, he's a cook, he's into that stuff. So this is for you know what I'm talking to. So again, the idea is that if you have a recipe from an award-winning chef, I don't know, like Emeril or something like that, and you hire this chef to come to your dealership to cater an event, and you know he makes this exquisite food, and the food is just scrumptious, and you're like, damn, can I get that recipe? And he's like, I don't know about that, it's my recipe. And you're like, please, you have such exquisite food. I want to make it for my family. My wife would love it. And he's like, okay. So he gives you the recipe, and instead of you following the recipe from the award-winning chef on TV, it's got 5-star restaurants, that you've tasted his food and you saw it for yourself and you loved it and you asked him for his recipe, right? Okay, instead of following the recipe, you're like, sugar? My wife doesn't like sugar. Maybe we use some sweet and low. Splenda. You know what? Now that I think about it, she doesn't like any sweeteners. How about we substitute sugar with salt? Does that make any sense to you? Would you ever do that? Hell no. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ludicrous for you to think that it makes sense to turn around and just throw away that recipe from that award-winning chef and just start making your own ingredients. Now, here's the thing. Could you fault the chef because you only changed the sugar and it's only salt and it's white and it's small, and what's the difference? Just by that one little thing. That one little thing is no longer the recipe. That one little thing, you know, that changes the whole taste, texture, the way that they could cook, all that stuff. My point being is, Sean, I'm a car dealer. I'm a manager. I'm a salesperson. Why are you talking about food for? I'm getting hungry. I'm about to shut you off. Look, before you go to Wawa, listen to this. I want you to understand is that we have recipes. They're called recipes for success. You have your road to the sale process. You've got your internet process. You've got your communication process. You've got your follow-up process. They are there for you to utilize without exception, without fail. So for example, the road to the sale, there's several different parts to the road to the sale. I've seen 6 steps to the sale, 8 steps, 10 steps, even 12 steps. Each dealership has its own variation, but here's the thing. You need to ask yourself, what is the purpose of the road to the sale? What is the reasoning behind the road to the sale? Well, let me break it down for you. And this is true for all of them. The end goal is for you to sell a car and max gross. So remember that. The road to the sale is set up for you to sell an automobile at the end and make as much freaking money as you possibly can earn on that deal. One more time for the people in the bleachers with the Doritos, okay? I know I got you hungry. It's this. You need to sell an automobile and max gross profit. Profit's not a dirty word. So the road to the sale is built. It's engineered to accomplish both of those things. It's there not just to sell a car, because quite honestly, you could possibly sell a car if you don't screw up the relationship experience that bad. You could spot a car, but you're going to give those cars away. The goal, again, and I keep saying it, is to sell an automobile and max gross profit. So if you remember that, you got to first remember, why is the road to the sale in existence? Okay, so now that I understand it's to sell an automobile and to max gross, now what? Understand the different parts of the road to the sale. First is the greeting. What is the purpose of the greeting? Now, I'm not giving you the Sean Bradley road to the sale. I'm just giving you a interpretation of all the road to the sales put together. So this is not Dealer Synergy Sean Bradley. This is just my synopsis or my cliff notes. In the first part of the road to the sales, the greeting. It's the way that you engage a prospect. There's a saying that you only have one shot to make a first impression. And my God, when somebody's buying the second largest item ever in their lifetime, you know, for the average American, it's an automobile next to a home. If I know that I only have one shot to make a first impression for something as large as the second largest item in their lifetime, then I need to get it right. So that's why the greeting aspect of the engagement is so important, because it's your first shot to make an impression. It better be a great impression. Going forward is, once you've engaged a prospect, you've greeted them properly, now it goes into the kind of qualifying. Now, different steps, different processes, you might pace, you might lead, you might do this, you might do that. But let's get to the next big thing. To me, it's qualifying the product. That's perfect for that prospect. You want to identify what vehicle is right for this person. Different systems call it product selection, qualification. For me, I like qualification. What am I looking to do during this process period? I want to identify that we're on the right vehicle, because at the end of the day, if it's not the right vehicle, it doesn't matter. Numbers don't matter. Availability doesn't matter. Nothing matters if you're on the wrong car. And I'm going to source to you, NADA says, the National Automobile Dealer Association says, that the #1 reason why people don't buy cars is because they're landed on the wrong car. Okay? So product selection is so important. Is it too much car, too little car? Is it the right color? Who's the car for? What's the car going to be used for? Now, you might have that mastered, product selection, comparisons, that type of stuff. You want to make sure that you do a full product demonstration. You want to do a full walk-around presentation on that vehicle. You want to make sure that you clearly articulate the features and benefits of that automobile. Again, you want to feature and benefit them to death. No, I'm not kidding. You want to make sure that they understand what they're getting, what they're buying, right? You want to also, but you can't just go, oh, over here, there goes a tire. Over there goes the mirror. This is where you put your makeup on. You can't say dumb things like that. If you don't properly qualify them to identify what their wants, wishes, expectations, you're not going to be able to know what to hit and what to resonate with. So, for example, if I had a prospect that was looking, I'll use my situation. We have a baby on the way. We're going to have 4 kids in the family, and myself and my wife. So obviously, space is important. If I don't know what the vehicle is going to be for, how many people are involved, I won't be able to focus on the convenience features, on the ergonomic features of the vehicle, on the spacing, features of the vehicle. But if I do that, then I could tailor my presentation. Think about that. Let's flip it to another thing. If somebody was concerned about safety, they got into an accident before they were replacing a vehicle. Even if they didn't say that safety was important, if I knew, because sometimes people come in, they just got into an accident, the insurance gave them a check, they need to get a new vehicle, I'm going to hit on all the safety, features and functions and benefits of this particular vehicle. So when you're doing the demonstration, it's not a monkey demonstration. Don't just walk in a damn circle. I don't know if I'm still in frame, but don't walk in a circle and just point to stuff and not know what you're talking about. Your walk around has to be an intelligent walk around. It has to be based on what a prospect's wants, wishes, expectations are. Now, reality speaking, you could spend a day, 8 hours, going through each option. You need to limit it to what is important and relevant to that prospect. Okay? And magnify and amplify what you're talking about. But that's not enough. Another thing that you have to do within the 6, 8, 10, 12, whatever step process you're using is do a full demo drive. You want to do a demonstrative, presentation live. Why do you want to get physically in the vehicle and test drive that car? Because there's a science of communication. 55% of communication is visual perception, body language. 30% is sound and inflection, and 7% is text, the words we use. But put that to the side. I don't know if anybody's ever broken this down, but there's different mind patterns that people have. You've got kinesthetic people. It means like the touch stuff. You've got auditory people, and you've got visual people, right? So if you don't understand that not everybody's wired the same way or wired the way that you are, you're in trouble. So let's just say, for example, you've got a kinesthetic thinker. They're not going to say, hey, I'm a kinesthetic person, let me touch it, feel it. They might not even, it's your job to learn how to profile on a professional way what type of prospect you have. You've got to probe and you've got to assume certain things. Me, I always fear if I'm engaging in a prospect on the showroom floor that I've got a kinesthetic person. So whatever I say or show them is not really going to fully resonate to their core. So what do I have to do? I need to make sure that that person is physically in the vehicle. Oh, man, they're sitting down in the vehicle. They're feeling that leather. They're smelling that leather. They've got their hands on the wheel. They've got the gear shifters on the back if it's a Porsche, right? They've got them on the steering wheel. They could, look at the cockpit, and then they could turn around. And nowadays, the fast cars, you just press a button. You don't have to turn a key. You just press the button. Vroom. They could hear it. You're like, hey, hit it again. Vroom, vroom, right? You can turn around and you get them really to become mentally aware that this is possibly going to be theirs. You ask them, questions as you're driving in the vehicle, like, oh, how would this, how's this going to look in your driveway? Are you going to have this in your garage, or is it going to be parked on the side of the street? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get them to try to visualize as they're driving this thing, how it feels, turning, taking on, whatever. It's so much more impactful for them to, wrap their minds and their bodies and their senses around this vehicle with them physically and literally in the driver's seat. Now, when you go through some of these pieces, that's not enough. When you go back to the dealership, me personally, I like doing service walks. I like, walking people through the different parts of the dealership. Here's the service department. Here's the parts department. Over there is a body shop. This is Doug. This is Tom. That's our internet director. That's Susan. She heads up our fixed ops departments, so on and so forth. What you're doing, I'm going to get to it at the end. You're making it really, this is their whole experience. It's not just the price, right? Now, if you try to gain a commitment in between at the beginning, or if they try to bully you into saying, well, what's the price? You're going to be forced to just give a price, and that's absent of value. That's what I've been leading towards this whole little spiel, is that your whole process, remember, is not just to sell a car. It's to max gross. And how do you max gross? You max gross by building value. Price is only relevant with the absence of value. As a matter of fact, I've got the perfect story to share with you for this Make Money Mondays episode. Before I met my current wife, I was married before, and at that time, before she was my wife, she was my fiance. And I'll never forget, I was walking through Monmouth Mall, and I was talking to her, and she was talking to me, and we went up by JCPenney's or something silly like that, and there's rings there. I look at her, she looks at me, and she's like, yeah, we're going to get married. I'm like, I'm going to buy you that ring. And she said, what ring? I said, whatever ring you want. She said, how about that one? I was like, that's a little expensive. How about that one? And she's like, yeah. Long story short, we picked a ring together at JCPenney's. For that split second, we were excited. We were in the moment, and we bought the ring. And as soon as we walked out of the mall, I was like, oh my God, what do we do? We don't know what we got. It's JCPenney's. Is that cheesy that we bought our wedding ring, our engagement ring at JCPenney's? She's like, probably. And, we were cool about it, but I didn't feel comfortable about the sale. She didn't feel comfortable about the sale. So we decided that we're going to bring the ring back. And while we were thinking about bringing the ring back, there was like this company called Bentley Diamond Importers. True story. They were blasting radio spots about, this is Bentley Diamond Importers. We import diamonds. And they're talking about how they are so much cheaper and so much better because they're an importer of diamonds. And they had this whole thing. So we were all excited. So we go for a private meeting with the jeweler. And they buzzed us in. It was intimidating. I've never been to a place like this before. It was like a private jewelry place in New Jersey. And we walked in, up the stairs. They had the showcase. They had diamonds, and they had rings, and they had this. The guy introduced, he was smart. He went to my lady friend, right, my fiance at the time. He went to her and shook her hand first. And then he said to me, congratulations. And then without skipping a beat, he said, let me see your ring. So he goes, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. He didn't say, sucker. He turned around and took the ring in her hand and said, that's beautiful, congratulations. Oh, did you pick out a date? He did not even talk about the ring other than to congratulate her on the actual ring itself and talk about the wedding experience and get her really excited and stuff like that. Then he's like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, find out what your thoughts are. What didn't you like about this? Why did you come to see me? Because you bought a beautiful ring. Well, we weren't sure. He's like, well, okay. Then he asked a crazy question. He said, did you see the ring separately from the setting? I said, excuse me, why the hell would I want to do that? He looked a little bit surprised. I don't know if it was a real surprise or fake surprise, but he looked surprised. He said, Sean, you need to have it, separate. You can't buy a ring in a setting, silly. And I'm thinking to myself, then it's freaking broken. Why would I buy a ring that's broken? I need a ring that's put together. And he's like, no, 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 no. Then he started going about imperfections, color class, and then he explained to me that a diamond in the setting might have imperfections, but that are set in there and you wouldn't know unless you're able to physically look. And I'm like, wow, that makes sense, jeweler guy. You're so right. Yeah, I didn't think of that. And he's like, yeah, you got to know what you're buying. And he lowered his voice and he was explaining. He was going through. He got the little black velvet thing. He put the diamond on there. He said, look at this. I'm like, all right. I put the little eye thing there. I'm looking at it. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. People, when I freaking tell you that I left that place, I spent double at this place. But you know what? I felt good about it. I felt good. I felt like, damn, I got me a Bentley diamond importer, ring. I got it set it. I was telling people 3 days, yeah, did you know that if you ever need a diamond, you shouldn't look at it in the ring. You need to turn on and get it separately. He built value. He explained to me the process of what was going on, why it was going on. He was making me feel good. He was educating me. He had me involved and said, yeah, do you like how this, does that make sense? He was building, and now that I'm a professional sales expert, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how brilliant this guy was. That's a true story. At the end of the day, I spent more money, but I felt better about it because I felt comfortable in what I got. And how we came up to that. And he didn't just skip steps like, okay, hey, what kind of ring do you want? What's your budget? He walked me through his up process at his jewelry store. So the moral of the story is this. You have a process. The road to the sale process at a dealership is designed to do 2 things. First and foremost, it's designed to sell automobiles. Second, and mostly important, is to max gross. So don't skip steps. Embrace your process. But for you to embrace your process and implement your process, you need to know your process inside and out. It's not just memorizing the 6, 8, 10, 12 steps road to the sale. You can't just memorize that stuff. You need to know what each step is for, why it's there, where it begins, where it ends. What does step 1 do? What is all the details about step 1? Not the stupid track, not the little word tracks, not the scripts, but what is step 1? What is the purpose of the greeting? I want to know all about the greeting. Why should I do it this way? How should I say things? What if they say this? How do I respond to that? You need to turn around and dive deep into each and every one of your steps because each and every one of your steps builds onto the next step. This is like my mountain. You're not going to just fly to the mountain. You're going to put the spikes and you're going to climb your way to the top. Each one of your steps is directly imperative to the evolution of the process. So don't skip your steps. Don't skip your steps. Let's make Money Mondays, people. Let's make that money.